Welcome to the Crafty Mini. Now in this one we're going to be painting a kitbashed version of what I think a chaos obliterator should be. So I'll put up some stills now. These are various resin bits that I've had for non-GW pieces, apart from the shoulder pad and a couple of the little gribblies that are in the milliputted arm that I've done. Part of the reason for that is I actually don't like the Chaos Obliterator miniature that GW released. I love the artwork for it. The artwork in the books was really good, but I've never really liked the miniature. It's a bit too safe, and I think the stretch skin looks just a bit silly on the mini as well. So I thought I'd have a bash and make something for myself. Now this isn't for an army or for a game or anything. This is just a one-off. Because I've got another painting competition that I'm entering, for those who watched the skeleton video a few weeks ago, and I want to test my idea for how I'm going to do the skin and all like the corrupted flesh on this miniature. So I thought I'll make something a bit random, because I had this cool piece with this. You'll see on the miniature there, it's got like this big open maw, and then I've stuck these little torsos and a head in there, some tentacles and things, and then basically just built it up, and the idea behind it was my version of a chaos obliterator. So what we're going to do is go through the painting process. Before I start that, just something I want to address, because I've been asked a few times. I think it's something me and Welsh might be addressing in a future podcast as well, and it's basically why I don't do a lot of GW stuff on the channel. Because if you go through my video library, I've done an orc, war boss, a large scale, the Todd McFarlane, I think it is, the large scale Imperial Guard, and then I did a little video on the lore of Nurgle, and that's about it really. I don't do Space Marines or anything like that, and it's purely because I'm not a big fan of the minis. I've done it a lot as a kid, cause as a lot of us, we all get into GW because it's the easy access, it's the most famous one out there, but I get bored very easily with GW stuff. I just find it's a bit too safe. It's a bit designed by numbers, and sort of like by committee, if that makes sense. Like everything, don't get me wrong, it looks fantastic and they've got some beautiful stuff in there, but it is a little bit safe. I've done a few commission pieces, like all the old legions of the Space Marines for someone. I did one of each. But as I say, for long form videos, I never really bother with it, because it's not something I really enjoy. So for this one, this, as I say, this is more for me practicing this style, because I'm doing the piece that I'm doing for the competition on it's a proxy for another GW mini, but I think the sculpt on the competition piece is far better than what GW released, and I'll go into more detail on that on that particular video anyway, which will be coming up in the next sort of week, 2 weeks or so. But yeah, so basically I've created this mini, just amalgamated a load of bits together, milliputted some stuff, because the old law for the obliterators was, if I remember right, the rules, they could pretty much fire any weapon from the game, because they were like this fusion of flesh and demonic entity. And it was, basically they had access to everything. They were pretty overpowered, but it was just a cool idea. It was a cool concept. Back to when the lore basically helped design the game and the rules, and there was cool little fluff things that you could do with each army and stuff like that, before it became effectively just a tournament game. But leaving that aside anyway, because that's clearly going to upset some people. And I say, me and Welsh will discuss this in a future podcast anyway. So starting off, so it's had a base coat, and then I've gone through and I've just put like a dull camo green all over the flesh pits, and then I'm going in with this off-white, and the idea is, because it's quite a thin coat I'm putting on, it's going to look very patchy and very splotchy as it goes on, and not cover very well. And throughout this I'm going to leave little stills of how it looks for each step. It will look a bit terrible for the first few steps, but as I build up the layers and all the little texture and details, it starts to make sense. And with what I learnt from this mini, as I'm working through the bigger piece for the competition, I think it's actually put me in good stead, and it's using that terrible coverage that light colours have over dark colours, and building it up and leaving those like patchy bits on there, it actually works quite nicely. So that's what we'll be doing throughout the video. So initial bit is just getting this off-white base coat down, and then we'll go from there. And something I just want to address that I should have mentioned just is part of the process of this as well is just trying something new, had an idea and just going for it. And the nice thing is, if you've got a spare mini somewhere or kitbashed something like I have here, just have a go at it, whatever it is you're thinking of doing, before you commit to the nice piece that you wanna do the work on. And I think it works. I'm happy with it. It's come out. I'm going to change and tweak a few little things which we'll look at later on. But so the white coat's gone down, that off white, and as I say, it's very patchy. And then what I'm doing is all in the little folds and anywhere where the skin would be aggravated, like where it's moulded around metal and things, I'm using Army Painter's True Blood. Now this paint, I absolutely love it because it's got the consistency of actual blood, and so I don't know what is in it and what medium they're using, but it's fantastic. It's very glossy finish as well, but when you thin it, it pulls and sort of stretches and leaves really cool specular stains all over wherever you paint it, and it's a really nice finish. And when you build up these layers on top, it really makes things pop and look really gross and gruesome, and what I think proper grimdark should be. And then so basically this is going pretty much all over the flesh, apart from the largest raised bumps. They're the only ones that I'll be keeping, and plopping this all over with a little bit of water just to let it run a bit more. Right, so at this point we've got the stained base coat. So now what I'm doing is going back in with the bright ivory sort of off-white colour, and still thin down a little bit, but I'm focusing it now on the raised areas. And again, this does still go on quite patchy because it's watered down, but again, the idea is it's building up those translucent layers because it's very, very thin down paint, and you should start seeing all those other colours still coming through. So at the end of this little clip, I've got some stills, and you'll see the sort of pinkish to reddish hue of the blood still comes through, and even in some areas the green as well that we did as that initial base coat. And it's again building up that translucency. And as I say, I had a lot of fun just testing with this and just having a play around. And it's something honestly everyone should try. Just go and, if you've seen I don't know, if you've seen something on YouTube or there's something you think that might work, go and give it a go. And we've all got spare little pieces or miniatures knocking around somewhere. Just give it a go, and just try different things. It's always good to do. There's a lot I've learnt from this, which we'll point out in the next few steps in particular. But yeah, building up this translucency, and then, as I say, the stills we'll show you in a second. Very, very patchy, but it does build up after the next few washes. And so these are a couple of still images. So you can see there's, in the deepest recesses, you've got that sort of pinky, more aggravated skin. There's a little bit of the green still coming through, but you've got that very pale flesh there on the top, that very sort of sickly. And because, as I say, it's still quite patchy, it's going through quite nice. So my next step is, this is a little concoction I've made, which is Agrax Earthshade, Seraphim Sepia, and half a bottle of Nuln Oil, and they're all mixed together, and they make this really muddy, mucky wash that I love doing for the grimdark stuff. So this is going to go into all the recesses, over a few of the areas, and it does stain really heavily. There's something that happens, and this is why I did it, especially when you mix the Seraphim Sepia and the Agrax together. It really does heavily stain. But it works, and then we'll build up the layers back on top of this as well, and you'll get this really nice variation in colour, and it feels like it's layered. But what I'm doing is I've got a little bit of water in there just so it doesn't go on too thick, because it will, as I say, it will stain very, very heavily. And then while that wash is drying, just going to go through now and block out all of the metallic areas. So just with some Pro Acryl Dark Silver, it's my go-to for anything metallic. And then we can brush it up and do a bit of dry brushing with some sort of like chainmail silver, something brighter, and pick out a few areas. But this is just a nice even base coat all over, just while we're waiting for the wash to dry. So you can see here the staining on the flesh and where I've picked out all the silver. The main thing is, again, that red, some of the green's still coming through, the brighter areas of the flesh, but everything's got this really grimy look. On the back there in particular, you can see the red on all the bruised sort of bits of skin. And then it's a case now of doing the exact same step again, this time with slightly more thin down paint. And I'm just picking out very deliberate areas on this one. I'm not going to do the whole model, but just anything that's facing up or is going to catch more of the light, as if the light source was from above. And then this, because it's the way I do it is I thin the paint down, and then I'll sort of twist it off from the palette a little bit as I'm mixing it in, and it just gives this really nice consistency that goes over almost like a glaze layer, but it keeps all the pigment together. Also, I've tried this, I'm using Pro Acryl for this. I've tried it with Vallejo Paints and they work just as well for this as well. So don't feel like you have to go and buy these top end paints to try something like this. But yeah, just picking out all the raised areas, and the idea is I want that. So that brown wash that we've just put on is also now going to come through with the reds and everything and the greens, just so you got these layers of skin, and you can see it almost, and because they're all going on with thinner coats, and you get that patchy sort of finish whenever you put a lighter colour on top of a darker colour. Those patches overlap on each layer where I'm moving the pigment around, and you get this like a diseased sort of mottled skin is the effect that I'm going for. So I'm just going around now and picking everything out. Right, so the skin tone I'm all but happy with now, just a few little extra bits. What I want to do is re-push out that sort of gory, bloody effect. So concentrating mainly around the mouth now, going back in with those blood effects, the True Blood from Army Painter, and just getting into the recesses to make this thing look like it's got this horrific sort of bloody, disgusting maw that it's there. These two sort of heads and this one arm's popping out of, as if this person's been completely corrupted by this Nurgle or Chaos influence. And then thin it really, really far down, and then work on other areas of the skin where it just feels more aggravated. The nice thing with this is if you go a bit too heavy, what you do is clean your brush, and with just water, go in and blend that back into the skin tone as well. That's something that I learned while doing this miniature, and it's something I've done on the competition piece. And yeah, just going in, picking it all out, and just making it look a bit more gruesome now. Now on some of the folds that I'd sculpted with the milliput around the weapon, I wanted that to be a bit more sore and aggravated as well. So again, using the same blood effects paints, and around like where the skin's bulging on the underside of the shoulder pad, where it can't contain this demonic flesh anymore. Just going in and picking those little areas out like we did with the mouth, just to make it look really sore. And like you see me there, you can use your finger and just smudge a little bit, and again it blends it into the skin tone and makes it really nice and stand out. So after those previous few steps, this is what it's starting to look like. The main thing there is that there's a few extra little details I've got to start picking out, but you can see that the flesh looks really sore. It's mixed in with that brown. Here where it's like, so the main sort of torso where the head is, that's bent backwards, and then it rips into all the metallic parts, it looks more aggravated. And now what we're going to do is basically do a unifying wash all over, and this will just help all those little layers come together. Now what I use for this is Sledgehammer Studios, he calls it marine juice, but I'll keep calling it sledge sauce. And basically it's a mix of Rockland Fresh Flesh Shade, Lamium Medium, and Army Painter Dark Tone. And because of the lime medium, I've mentioned this in previous videos, it makes the wash run really well and go into all the recesses. And when you put it on, it looks quite dark. It dries super light, and it just gives a nice little bit of definition. And all this is going to do is just unify all those scratchy and patchy layers of the sort of off-white that we've put on the skin and all those other bits, and just bring it all together and make it look like it's more of a unified sort of colour filter over everything. But as I say, the nice stuff with this is it's not heavy on the pigment because of the lime medium, and it really does just wash into everything and just gives it a nice finish. So as you can see there, I've picked out a bit of green on the shoulder pad and a few little bits just to break it up. But now what we're doing is, so back in with that the ivory, that off-white, and now I'm doing very specular highlights on certain areas. This is where we're going to pick out the facial features and things and some of the little muscles, just to make it pop a bit more. And again, using the exact same method, so I've got a very thin down amount of paint, and it's just going on and it's blending really nice. And it's just making everything highlighted now. And this is where, because especially the faces in the middle of that mouth, it still looks a bit patchy. But when we pick out those features now, the miniature will start to pop a little bit more. And just something I want to reiterate is, don't forget this. The whole point of this was just to try something new. I had an idea of using the patchiness of light colours on top of dark and seeing if I could get it to work. And yes, it took a lot of layers and a lot of fine tuning, but overall I think it has worked. And again, just reiterating, have a try at something new. If you've got an idea, just go for it. The worst case is it doesn't work. That's okay, but you'll learn, and you know, you won't have to worry about using that in the future. And then if you know, it's also something you could also, while you're trying it out, is learn something else. So for this in particular, I found when it was finished, I needed to not go with such a bright off-white for the flesh. I needed to go for something with a little bit more of a greyish tint to make it look a bit more dead and a bit more sort of necrotic, which is what I use on the competition piece. But yeah, have fun with it. It's our hobby at the end of the day, and we should be enjoying it. Right, so after picking out all little details like the teeth and things and a bit of silver highlighting, this is the finished piece. As I say, the skin, I definitely want more of a greyish tone, sort of like a grey-green, so I won't be using the bright ivory. But in terms of the actual, how the paint's gone on and how it's built up the layers, I'm actually really happy with this. Obviously with the competition piece, I'm going to take a lot more time and go into more detail on it. But overall, just as a painting technique, putting these patchy layers on, I'm extremely happy with this. So we'll carry on with all the sort of finished shots and things. Let me know what you think. Is it something you'd give a go at? Is it too gross? Because that was always a worry as well. For me, I think this is GRIMDARK. This is how GRIMDARK should be. I understand GW, it's a big company and they've got to cater to try and get everyone into it. But yeah, man, if you're going to do a gross army, a Chaos or a Nurgle Corrupted army, go for it. Go full ham and get some 3D printed pieces and just chuck them all together. But thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.